got it.
Okay, now we can start.
Hi. Good afternoon to all of you. Huna paisa sage mo? Sir, huna paisa? Good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of Morigao College Department of Political Science, in collaboration with Center for Economic Studies and Research, Guwahati, I welcome you all of you to this national webinar on the topic of COVID-19, pandemic and its impact on international relations. And I thank you all for your participation. So without any delay, I request Dr. Lilakanta Bodhakur sir, Principal of the Morigao College, to inaugurate the session with his brief speech. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Joyce. Thank you, Dr. Joyce Nath. Good afternoon to everyone. Honorable Dr. A.K. Mishra sir, State Nodal Officer, NSS, Director of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Arunachal Pradesh, renowned personality, respected Vice Principal, Morigao College, Dr. Hemalata Sharma, IQAC Coordinator, respected Dr. P. Sharma, President, and other office bearers of Culture for Ethnic Studies and Research, Guwahati. My respected faculty members of the Department of Political Science and respected participants. At the outset, I would like to welcome you all to this one-day national webinar on COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on international relations, organized by Department of Political Science in collaboration with CESR Guwahati. We all are aware that the coronavirus disease is profoundly affecting life around the globe. Isolation, contact restriction, and economic shutdown impose a complete change to the psychological environment in affected countries. According to an official data, as many as 213 countries and territories has registered COVID-19 cases. It is a human, economic, and a social crisis. The disease, which has been characterized as a pandemic, is attacking not only in regional and national issues, it is also attacking different international issues. So I sincerely hope that this webinar will expose all the dimensions of international relations with respect to global pandemic. I offer my heartfelt gratitude to Professor A.K. Mishra for his kind consent for joining this webinar despite his so many busy schedule. I also offer my thankfulness to Department of Political Science and the CESR for organizing such a vital webinar on such a vital academic issues. Finally, I do hope that the honorable participants will enriched with a better knowledge and understanding of this current vital issue. I hope that our President of Governing Body, Professor J.K. Kolita sir, who is also an officer in charge of International Relations Office of Guwahati University, will be joining after his busy schedule. He will be joining, and we will be waiting for him. And at last, I once again welcome you all to this webinar, and with these few words, I declare that this webinar is inaugurated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, as Professor Jugan Kolita sir is absent, I would like to introduce our resource person, Dr. A.K. Mishra sir, who is devoting his services in the education sector of Arunachal Pradesh since long time. He joined as a lecturer in the Department of Political Science in 1997 in the Wangsa Rajkumar Government College of Arunachal Pradesh for more than 2 decades. And Then he was HOD of the same department and also served as principal of that college. Previously, he was coordinator of IGNOU and distance education in Rajiv Gandhi University, Itanagar. He was also the members of the Board of Undergraduate Studies, Rajiv Gandhi University. Currently, he is a visiting fellow of Patna University. Due to his work, Dr. Mishra Sir has been selected as an associate of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Simla. He holds lifetime membership of IPSPA, NEHA, NEPSPA, and Indo-American Political Science Association. In appreciation of his outstanding services, the government of Arunachal Pradesh conferred Best Research Award in the year of 2012 to Dr. Mishra Sir. He is also the recipient of Arunachal Pradesh State Award on the occasion of Republic Day 2020 by the Governor of Arunachal Pradesh. In the year of 2019, Dr. Mishra Sir joined the Directorate of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Arunachal Pradesh, as a state liaison officer and also holding the post of State Nodal Officer, NAC, SL, QSC, All India Survey on Higher and Technical Education, etc. In research field, he has published 65 articles in reputed national and international journals, including 2 books. His research works, postdoctoral research area studies, foreign policy of foreign countries, tribes of Arunachal Pradesh, and imperatives of regional cooperation in South Asia. So may I request Dr. Mishra Sir to deliver his speech on today's webinar topic.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. At the outset, I must appreciate the initiative of Morigaon College for hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are
Yeah.
audible.
For holding this national webinar on the issue of COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on international relations. Most respected, at the moment, perhaps he is not present, Professor Jogen Kalitaji, Professor
Yes,
in charge of International Relation Office, Guwahati University.
Yes.
Respected Dr. L.K. Bhatt Thakur, Principal, Morigaon College, Vice Principal, Dr. Hemlata Sharma, Morigaon College, Coordinator Dr. A.K. Das, Assistant Coordinator Dr. Pallavi Hajarika, Moderator Dr. Jayasrinath, and from CESR, Dr. Sharma, the President, Prabodh Sharma, Dr. Dipan Das, Organizing Secretary, and Dr. Jogesh Das, Technical Coordinator. First of all, I also would like to congratulate Dr. Dipen Das to be nominated as a member of Northeast Zone Cultural Center under the Ministry of Cultural Affairs, Government of India. So this is really a wonderful opportunity for me to be with you and interact with other fellows who have joined this webinar at the moment. So I welcome you all, and my deliberation is on COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on international relations. As we, the entire community of the world, are facing a terrible situation emerged after COVID-19 pandemic, and as countries are firefighting the COVID-19 pandemic, let me share my screen first. Let me allow to share my screen. I want to share the screen. Kindly allow me. I have a request to organizer or whoever is controlling the system.
Yes, sir.
Kindly let me allow to share a screen.
Yes, sir. I would like to request Dr. Jogesh Das, Technical Coordinator, to help our Mr. Sir to do this. Dr. Zogesh Das.
Just wait.
Or should I send my PowerPoint presentation to you at the moment?
Yes, sir. That will be very nice, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you send it,
Yes,
that will be very nice.
yes, I am sending on your WhatsApp just now.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I have sent, and I'm proceeding ahead. Kindly, if the technical team is ready, kindly let me see my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Yes, I have shared with you.
You can continue. I will give
Okay,
it to
okay,
the
okay.
coordinator. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. So as we are facing, or as a countries are firefighting the COVID-19 pandemic, one thing is becoming clear: the post-coronavirus world will be different in many ways. As our principal sir has already mentioned, that is in economically, socially, and health-wise. No one will come out of this crisis without losing something. Previous threats to individual and social freedoms could not change our way of life, but now the important assets of our civilization is seriously yes yes sorry. So this the previous threats to individual and social freedoms could not change our way of life, but now this important assets of our civilization is seriously threatened. In a post-COVID-19 world, a new international order will be redrawn by the powerful countries, taking into account the lessons learned in dealing with the current pandemic. The role of international institutions will also be critically reviewed after this pandemic. But still, we are struggling to face this critical situation around the globe. Developing countries with low GDP growth, high debt, and dependence on oil and essential technologies will find it hard to maintain independent foreign policy. In this tough situation, it's really difficult for a country to maintain an interdependent, the relation with anyone. IT will play a major role in all the aspects. Yes, in all the aspects of life, in education, e-governance, commerce, health, and artificial intelligence. Use of tracking devices to monitor citizens would conflict with human rights concern in favor of security and safety. Tourism will continue, but visa regimes will be tightened. As we know that many countries are restricting the community of the world to come inside their, the nation. So I hope that this will be going to be very tough. The lesson from COVID-19 is poignant. In the march of civilization, survival of the fittest. I would like to request, please mute yourself. Somebody has unmuted.
All the participants, please mute your audio and video both.
So in the march of the civilization, survival of the fittest will not work. We need to take our weak and vulnerable along, even if we have to carry them on our shoulders. So this should be the endeavors of the entire community to fight this, the deadly disease with sincerity and joint endeavors. The outbreak of novel coronavirus, that is also known as SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 in 2019, may be the most consequential event of the early 21st century, upending modern life, globalization, and relations between countries. It is also an economic one, with the various stay-at-home ordinances and travel restrictions imposed to break the chain of transmission, leading to dramatically diminished economic activities, massive unemployment, and income losses around the world. From China's initial reluctance to allow World Health Organization experts into the country to G7, fights over what to call the virus, to President Trump's, the former president of United States of America, hold on funding for the WHO, the global response has been symbolic and largely uncoordinated. In contrast, yes. In contrast, I would like to mention the adequate, if not exceptional, cooperation during the last major global crisis. Yes. Last major global crisis, the 2008 financial crisis. I would like to mention about it. What can we learn from the theories of international relations about why the responses has thus far been so ineffective? Here I would like to mention the theory of Kenneth Wald. Classic images of analysis are relevant, with first image theory focusing on the role of individual, second image theories on the attributes of states, and the third image theories the structural properties of the international system. Can you enlarge one by one? There is I would like to request that if you kindly allow me to host myself, then I will manage it better. For time being, you kindly make it host to me. Is it possible? There are
Sir,
certain.
sorry, sir. Actually, sorry, sir. Here, co-host facility is not here, sir.
If you allow me as a host, if you allow me as a host, then I can manage it easily. For time being.
Sir, sorry for interruption. Here, co-host facility is not available, sir. In this application that we are using, only single host is here, sir.
Actually, you can do it. You go in the participants list and select my name, and then you can allow me. Then I can perhaps let it be. I'm going ahead. There are always certain technical glitches, but let it be. No problem. And the third image of Wald is a structural theory. So here I focus on the third image, that is a structural theories that is related to anarchy, cooperation, and collective action. And as we see that collective action is very much imperative during this COVID-19 pandemic. In his Man, the State and War, Wald argues that world is characterized by anarchy. That is, there is no overreaching world government, so states have to fend themselves against threats, including the coronavirus. Interdependence of trade and travels create mutual vulnerabilities to the coronavirus and intensify and intensify so interdependence of trade and travel create mutual problems, and also the coronavirus, and it intensify the need for cooperation between states. A state that protects itself from the coronavirus while others do not will find itself vulnerable to a spread of the disease from outside its borders. That is what scholars of collective action call a weakest link problem, where states are only as safe as the weakest link in the network. States also cannot meet their own needs for dealing with the crisis through domestic production alone. As we have seen during the second surge of coronavirus in our country too, how we have faced a lot of problems, and medical equipments, oxygens, medicines, etc., etc. So globally integrated supply chains mean that they will depend upon imports of medical supplies, masks, pharmaceutical, and machines. Some countries lack the wherewithal to tackle the disease on their own, and few, if any, states can collect necessary information on the trajectory of the diseases all over the world, or invest in the world therapeutics and vaccines that are required to treat the sick and ultimately stop this coronavirus from the world community. If actors cooperate, the most likely situation is a harmony game where actors have overwhelming incentives to cooperate no matter what others do. If actors do not cooperate, then the situation most likely resembles deadlock, where actors have misangled incentives and strong incentives to not cooperate with each other. There was a question in COVID-19 case why WHO and its current executive director, Dr. Tedros, seemed so solicitous about the China in the early stage of COVID-19 outbreak. During the 2003 outbreak of severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, China was accused of a lack of transparency in timely reporting of cases to WHO. The WHO used its de facto enforcement capacities to warn the international community against traveling to SARS affected countries. In the wake of SARS, the international community reformed the international health regulations. During that time, this international health regulation was revived in the year 2005 to give states more guidance about what their responsibilities were for reporting on outbreaks. The revised IHR, International Health Regulations, gave WHO the capacity to label outbreak as public health emergency of international concern, that is known as PHEIC. That is the part of WHO to inform the global community about any pandemic happening anywhere in the world. Such declarations are supposed to serve as alarm bells for the global community to mobilize resources to prevent a disease from becoming a risk to other countries. The declaration of PHEIC has not always worked out well. there is a tension between balancing the need to protect human health and keeping countries' economies open to trade and travel. As we have seen that here we have to save the life of the community, and also we have to save the economy of our country, our society. In the case of COVID-19, a PHEIC was not declared until January 30, 2020. The world first learned of this outbreak in late December 2019. There might have been an opportunity to declare a PHEIC a week earlier, at which point only 17 Chinese nationals were known to have died owing to this COVID-19. But this was a relatively fast PHEIC declaration. Alongside the declaration of PHEIC, the goals has been to selectively or rarely use travel restrictions and instead use diseases surveillance to stamp out epidemics before they pose a risk to the global community. The WHO generally opposes travel restrictions since they are thought to be ineffective in stopping diseases transmission, though they may slow transmission, albeit at considerable economic cost. However, it should be the part of the WHO. And WHO has criticized by President Trump, the former president of United States, for opposing travel bans, but it was powerless to stop the United States or other countries from imposing them and cannot punish them for doing so. Indeed, the day after the PHEIC declaration on 30th January 2020 for the coronavirus, the United States announced restrictions on Chinese travelers in their country. The United States was not alone. Many countries have, after that, the declaration started banning the people coming from the affected areas. In recent health crises, including Ebola, H1N1, and now the novel coronavirus, numerous states issued travel bans. The WHO and Dr. Tedros in particular have been criticized for being overly praiseworthy of Chinese government, which arguably concealed the extent of the threat to the world community, while not to absolve WHO on its leadership of excessive deference to China. It is important to recall that the WHO possesses no capacity to coerce states to provide information on outbreaks. Here, I would like to mention that the role of WHO is also to some extent restricted. For several weeks in January, China resisted call from WHO and the CDC to allow its experts into the country to see what was going on for themselves. The COVID-19 pandemic, and here I would like to focus certain, the points on the international relations on COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected international relations and caused diplomatic tensions, as well as resulted a United Nations Security Council resolution demanding a global ceasefire. Some scholars have argued that the pandemic necessitates a significant rethinking of existing approaches to international relations. They have suggested that we should rethink of the relations. We have to rethink about the various approaches of international relations with a greater focus on issues such as health diplomacy, the politics of crisis, the border politics, etc. Others have argued that pandemic is unlikely to lead to significant changes in the international system. Diplomatic relations have been affected due to tensions around trade and transports of medicines, Diagnostic Tests and Hospital Equipment for Coronavirus Diseases 2019. Leaders of some countries have accused other countries for not containing the disease effectively and resulting in the uncontrolled spread of the virus all around the globe. Developing nations in Latin America and Africa cannot find enough materials for testing the coronavirus disease in their country, partly because
Excuse
the
me, sir.
United States and yes, yes,
Excuse me, sir. Now you can share your screen.
okay, okay,
Now you can share.
okay. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now think, is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's okay.
Sir, it is
Oh,
visible.
okay. Okay. And others have argued that the pandemic is unlikely to lead to significant changes in the international system. Whatever international system we have at the moment, the many theorists are arguing that we have to include certain new approaches to understand the international system. Diplomatic relations have been affected due to tensions around trade and transport of medicines, diagnostic tests, and hospital equipment for coronavirus diseases 2019. Leaders of some countries have accused other countries for not containing the disease effectively and resulting in uncontrolled spread of the virus. Developing nations, particularly in Latin America and Africa, as I have mentioned, even cannot find enough materials for testing the disease in their respective countries, partly because the United States and the countries in Europe are outspending the resources. Generally, it is mentioned that diplomacy and its practice have been facing some adjustment. Here, I would like to mention the statement of Muzaffar S. Abduzimov mentioned that currently diplomatic practices exercising 6 major trends caused by the pandemic. That is number 1, acceleration of ICT's penetration. Number 2, reprisal of information security. Number 3, ensuring the reliability of public diplomacy. Number 4, further diversification of responsible duties. Number 5, the growing role of psychology. And number 6, the emergence of hybrid diplomatic etiquette and protocol. COVID, now I would like to mention the relationship of this disease with the nations. The Chinese government has been criticized by the United States and many other countries for its handling the pandemic, which began in Chinese province of Wuhan in November 2020. In Brazil, the congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro, son of President Jair Bolsonaro, caused a diplomatic dispute with China when he retweeted a message saying the blame for the global coronavirus pandemic has a name and surname, the Chinese Communist Party. Yang Waming, the China's top diplomat in Brazil, retweeted a message and said the Bolsonaro family is the great poison of this country. So this blame game politics has started, and each country try to blame the other countries, not in terms of spreading the virus, the disease, but also not cooperating, not giving the assistance which is being required by the nation concerned. Then COVID-19 and United States. The United States has come under scrutiny by officials from other countries for allegedly diverting shipments of crucial supplies meant for other countries. Jean Rottener, the president of the France Regional Council of Grand Est. The Grand Est is a northeastern, the province of France, where this John Rottener accused the United States of disturbing face mask deliveries by buying at the last minute. French officials stated that the Americans came to the airport tarmac and offered several times the French payments as the shipment was prepared for departure to France. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, asked Bill Blair, the Public Safety Minister, and Matt Greneau, the Transportation Minister, to investigate allegations that medical supplies originally intended for Canada were diverted to United States. And many more, the things are related to it, and I'm not mentioning here. Then COVID-19 and European Union. European Union response towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Here we can mention particularly the statement of a Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, who stated, if we do not propose now a unified, powerful, and effective response to this economic crisis, not only the impact will be tougher, but its effect will last longer, and we will be putting at risk the entire European projects. So he was very much worried about the project that is going on in the European countries. Likewise, the Italian Prime Minister Conte commented that the whole European project risks losing its reason d'etre in the eyes of our own citizens. And likewise, Germany, France, and other European unions, the countries, they have shown their solidarity. Many countries closed their border to stem the spread of coronavirus in their respective countries. Now, COVID-19 and Japan-South Korea relations. Japan-South Korea relations also worsened during this COVID-19 pandemic. After Japan declared it would start quarantining all arrivals from South Korea. The South Korean government described the move as unreasonable. Whatever move has been initiated by Japan, South Korean government blamed as unreasonable, unexcessive, extremely regrettable, and that it could not help but question whether Japan has other motives than containing the outbreak. Now, COVID-19 and Russia-Saudi Arabia relations. You see, in response of dramatic drop in oil consumption due to COVID-19 pandemic, Saudi Arabia attempted to orchestrate a worldwide declaration in oil production to keep price at a moderate level. However, when Russia refused to reduce its production, then there was a war game in between Saudi Arabia and Russia. So here I would like to say that this is because of the economic crisis emerged in the oil producing nations owing to threat imposed by this COVID-19. And even in Iran regimes spread a narrative that the coronavirus is conspiracy. And it is the conspiracy of United States of America. Hossein Salami, the commander of the guard, suggested that coronavirus may be an American biological invasion. And this is also the allegation of the many countries that this is the biological invasion of China, and that came from the virology center of Wuhan. Now, I would like to mention few aspects of the COVID-19 and Costa Rica-Nicaragua relations. On 14th May, 52 of the 57 deputies of the Legislative Assembly of Costa Rica signed a letter addressed to the director of the Pan-American Health Organization, NTINE, in which they expressed their concern for the situation of the pandemic by COVID-19 in Nicaragua, calling for forceful and urgent measures to be taken in this regard in the neighboring country, and at the same time warning the Nicaragua's response could have negative effects on the rest of the Central American countries. So such type of the problems started in between the nation concerned. Sorry. The deputies questioned the Nicaragua's government's figure of 25 coronavirus infectious, and that many stories are there in that context. Now, I would like to mention the global ceasefire and armed conflict dynamics. The COVID-19 pandemic led to a United Nations Security Council's resolution demanding a global ceasefire. On March 23, 2020, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Manuel de Oliveira Guterres issued an appeal for a global ceasefire as part of the United Nations response to COVID-19 pandemic. Here, I would like to mention at the moment, the chart is there where I have mentioned the figure. I have taken it from the source of internet. And at the moment, we are the second on the top after United States. So India's the total cases till 15th, to 29 crores, 6,33,105, and death is here 3,79,573, and the recover figures are here. Here, I would like to mention that this, the COVID-19 pandemic, which emerged from Wuhan, China, and China at the moment is at the serial number of 99. Now you see the condition, how they have revived from this pandemic. And on June 24, 2020, 170 United Nations members, states, and observers signed a non-binding statement in support of the appeal that the United Nations Security Council passed resolution and demanding a general and immediate ceasefire of hostilities in all the situations on its agenda, expressing support for the efforts undertaken by the Secretary General and his special representatives of and a special envoys in that respect. Here, I'd like to mention that even after that, we can cite an example of Israel, Palestine, the problems that emerged in 2021, how they were conflicting with each other. Not only that, a study of the 9 selected countries find that the pandemic increased conflict intensity in India with China, in Iraq, in Libya, in Pakistan, and in the Philippines. And this was the case as rebel groups tried to exploit weaknesses of the state apparatus during the pandemic. So these are, a list is very long. You can cite an example of Afghanistan, Colombia, and many other Middle East, the countries too. Now, I would like to let you know about the India's foreign policy vis-a-vis COVID-19 pandemic. The geopolitical implications of India's tragedy won't be lost on the Joe Biden's administration last week, as the magnitude of the second wave of India's coronavirus surge became increasingly clear to the world. Now it has been named as Delta virus, and United States policymakers soon began to appreciate the strategic implications of India's national trauma. Over the weekend, President Biden and his top official publicly pledged their commitments to send medical supplies, including oxygen, vaccines, materials, and therapeutics to India, while seeking additional ways to address India's crisis during the second surge of coronavirus. COVID-19 already inflicted a crushing blow to India's economy last year and this year too. A national lockdown instituted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the earliest stage of the global pandemic was intended to relieve the stresses on India's inadequate healthcare system. but it also delivered a 24% contraction in the economy and led millions of migrant day laborers to flee India's cities for lack of work. Though the late fall and winter, it seemed that somehow India would escape the worst of the pandemic. But again, during the second surge of COVID-19, we are facing the same problem in our country. And this badly heated our economy, our productivity, our global trade, our investment, our healthcare system, and many more. Yet, the geopolitical implications of India's tragedy must also be keenly left by the new Biden administration. And here I would like to mention that there is a close partnership with New Delhi as a cornerstone in the US strategy for competition with Beijing, as because China is posing threats not only to India, but also to United States of America. Here I would like to mention that the leader summits of Quad in March and United States Secretary of Defense, particularly, he mentioned about here, particularly Quad meeting where the South China Seas and Indo-Pacific Seas were badly, encroached by China. Then in Quad, I would like to mention India, Australia, Japan, and United States of America. They are jointly making some efforts to fight with China in this economic global crisis. So these are, the certain important aspects of, the India's foreign policy. And here I would like to mention that many of the causes of deteriorating relations between India and China remain unaddressed. The two sides have taken some initial steps to disengage from their border conflict in the Himalayas in 2020 and in early 2020. But in recent weeks, their bilateral military dialogues have stalled without progress. If Beijing were to seek a territorial advantage from India's ongoing health emergency, the compounding of multiple crises would complicate New Delhi's decision-making and would increase the potential for policy miscalculation and otherwise avoidable armed escalation. So here, United States of America also try to make a good relation with India so that they can plan a contingency, the aspects to deal with the emergent situations caused by Chinese aggression or the lessen regional tensions. Particularly, they try to lessen the regional tensions among the nations. And the US policymaker in the event of another Himalayan standoff this year. The second surge of COVID-19 and its agonizing the consequences has prompted India to accept foreign aid after a gap of 17 years. This is also a setback for our country to many extent. As a direct consequences of the pandemic, India's claim to regional primacy and leadership may make a major hit during this period. These in turn will impact the content and conduct of India's foreign policy in the years to come. Here you see now the vaccine diplomacy is also very important. And here I have mentioned that how China could able to vaccinate its people over 800 million. However, if we compare ourselves, then we are able to complete it only for 200 million people. In this regard, there is a share of the people vaccinated against COVID-19 pandemic till June 15. Here, the deep green shows that they are fully vaccinated, and light green shows that share of people only partly vaccinated, I mean they have taken only 1 dose. So here in this list, we are here, even below of Mexico, as because here in our country, we could able to fully vaccinate only 3.4% of our total population, and the first dose we could able to administer only 12% till 15. So these are the data. Data is here. I will share with you in my presentation. The all data is here. Now, I would like to mention that what is the impact of COVID-19 on India's foreign policy. The under regional primacy, India's traditional primacy in the region was built on a mix of a material aid, political influence, and historical ties with our neighboring countries. But at the moment, we are also lagging, as we see the tense relationship in between India and Pakistan, India and even Nepal. So Nepal is getting vaccine, the other material aid, not from India, but most from China at the moment. And India's political influence is steadily declining. Its ability to materially help the neighborhood will shrink in the wake of COVID-19, and its historical ties alone may not maintain India's regional hegemony. So this is one setback which we will have to face in days to come in our Indian foreign policy. And also the Chinese intrusion into India's strategic space. This is also, to some extent, this will adversely affect the
Hello, Mr. Sir. Hello. Hello, Mr. Sir. Dr. Mr. Sir. Hello. Dipen sir. Hello, Dipen sir.
টেকনিকেল পাৰ্চনৰ কথা পতাচোন জয়শ্ৰী।
হয়।
টেকনিকেল পাৰ্চন কোন আছিলে?
যোগেশ দাস sir.
ভইচটো নহা হল জয়শ্ৰী।
হয় ভইচটো নহা
হয়।
হৈছে।
যাদৱ দাস আছিল নেকি টেকনিকেল?
অডিও ভিডিও দুইটা অন আছে।
যোগেশ দাস হয় ভইচটো অহা নাই তেখেতৰ। ছাৰৰ নেটৱৰ্কৰ প্ৰব্লেম আছে নেকি?
ছাৰৰ নেটৱৰ্কৰ প্ৰব্লেম হ'ব পাৰে।
মই তেখেতক ফোন কৰিছো।
হয় স্যার।
মই তেখেতৰ লগত কথা পাতিছো, ফোন কৰিছো।
ডিপেন্ড ফোন কৰিছা নে?
ফোন কৰিছে স্যার। হয় ফোন কৰিছে।
সাউন্ডটো হঠাতে নোহোৱা হৈ গ'ল নহয় জয়শ্ৰী?
হয় মেম। ছাৰৰ চাগে নেটৱৰ্কৰ
কিবা নেটৱৰ্ক প্ৰব্লেম যেন পাইছো।
হয়। তেখেতক ফোনটো ৰেছপন্ড কৰা নাই, ফোন কৰি আছো মই।
ৰেছপন্ড কৰা নাই ন?
নাই কৰা। অৰুণাচলত অলপ নেটৱৰ্কৰ এনেও প্ৰব্লেমে হয়।
সেইটো মই সেইটো ভাবিছো, বৰ দূৰত্বটো আছেতো, সেইটোৱে চাগে প্ৰব্লেম কৰিছে।
তেখেতটো ইয়াত আছে, গ্ৰুপত আছে তেখেত আছেতো।
হা হা তেখেতৰ প্ৰেজেন্টেশনটো শো কৰা আছে কিন্তু
নেটৱৰ্ক প্ৰব্লেম হৈছে।
network problem
অ
আছে।
ছাৰ
ফোনতো কানেক্ট হোৱা নাই নেকি বাৰু?
we are not listening your voice, sir.
আচ্ছা
হা হৈছে।
Please. Oh, okay, sir. Huh. Yeah. Okay, sir. Sure. Okay, sir. Okay. Network problem হয় এতিয়া আকৌ rejoin কৰিব এতিয়া।
হা হা
You will rejoin again. Network problem is there.
Hello.
হয় sir.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Now
yes,
you are
Okay,
audible.
okay. I'm finishing. Now I'm at the verge of completion.
Yes.
So here I would like to mention that India is too important to fail. The international community might also reach the conclusion that post-COVID-19 India is too fragile to lead and be a leading power. This is a question mark in the minds of many countries, as the diplomatic bandwidth of expansive foreign policy goals would be limited. In post-COVID-19, Indian foreign policy is unlikely to be business as usual. However, COVID-19 may have opened precisely such an opportunity to the world's least integrated region. It is ironic that this pandemic has attacked one thing most precious to modern civilization, which is human liberty. We can say that our liberty is minimized. In most parts of the world, our way of life has been characterized by individual and social freedoms for which countries have gone to wars and won them after making costly sacrifices. So at this point of time, I would like to conclude myself, and I'm very much grateful to Morigaon College and the Cultural Center, CESR Guwahati, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be with you and share my thoughts related to COVID-19 pandemic in the context of international relations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have sound.
Thank you, sir. You have
Thank
very briefly and broadly mentioned how COVID-19 has impacted on different aspects of our life, be it personal, as you mentioned about e-technology in education sector, or we are using Zoom meeting or Google Talk, any kind of. So how it has impacted, and next it towards diplomatic relations, how India China relation, US India relations, how equipments, how blame game also started. We know the name of virus, how it started, like China virus, or in second wave, how India also faced like India virus. So it kind of how it has impacted. You broadly explain us. So now can I take open the forum for discussions and
Yes.
questions, sir?
Yes.
Please.
Please go ahead. Actually, this is such a vast subject, we will
Yes,
have a
yes, sir.
discussion in days to come. So,
Yes,
if anyone has any query, and even we can share our thoughts with each other.
Yes, sir. I myself from international relation. I am student of
Oh, very nice. Nice,
masters.
nice.
I did masters in political science, and I did my MPhil and PhD in international relations.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So our forum is open for short period of time. So anyone can question, anyone can raise questions.
Sir, hello sir,
Yes.
am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, you have highlighted about the much more impacted of coronavirus in the worldwide. So I'm very happy, sir. So in this certain situation, many students, researchers, day laborers, and many business persons lost their great attainment. Still now, sir. So my question is that in order to find the solution, how to help the students deal with COVID-19, can students postpone their studies or extend their semester exams, sir? Please, sir.
Yes, as we know that the entire globe is facing this problem, not only in the spheres of economy, rather in spheres of the human development index, the education, and many more sectors. So since there were two options before the government, whether we should go for 0 academic year or we should continue. Now you see in some urban areas, now e-learning has already started, and the many people are getting help from e-learning contents, but still in the rural area, as we know that in India everything is not available with each and every people of our country. So this adversely affect the rural people, their education system. So as we are seeing that the CBSE has already declared that it is not going to conduct 10 examination or 12 examination. Even the students of the colleges and universities are giving their examination through online mode. So these are the setbacks. Still, I'm telling you, so we will have to go. But now, considering this pandemic, we have to make aware ourselves. We have to prepare ourselves for the blending mode. Even UGC is thinking that we will have to adopt a blended mode of education in days to come, like 60% offline classes and 40% online classes. So get ready for that. And unless or until any concrete solution is not coming, then we have to adhere to the guidelines of the Ministry of Education and UGC for higher education. But still, we are facing the problem, and I think that the world community will seriously think over it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Any
Anyone?
more? Yeah.
Anyone?
Even your comments are appreciable. Also, I would like to know your views point on these aspects. So it will be better if you comment few aspects. Then also I will strengthen my understanding on this aspect. So you are most welcome.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
think that simply we are we are interacting with each other. No problem. If you
Yes.
have any query, any the question in your minds, you are most welcome. Even you can share your thoughts with us.
Yes, sir. I was thinking about US denial about Covaxin vaccine and all this travel ban. So what is your viewpoint regarding that?
Yes, United States has already denied. Might be, I think, also I'm not a medical expert, so I cannot give such, the ideas on that Covaxin, about Covaxin. But there are certain phases. And if we are producing any vaccine, then they have to cross that phases. So might be that cause is there related to our Covaxin that is indigenously generated by India. But I think that if there will be any query in relation to it, then it will be fulfilled by the company concerned or by our virologist or the medical or the scientist. They will able to reply. But now that problem is with that Covax. Yes.
Yes. Any more questions? Or any discussion from anyone?
Yes, you are most welcome, anyone. And I'm very happy to be with on this platform. Particularly, I'm very much thankful to Morigaon College and Dipan Dasji, who is also giving me such a wonderful opportunity to interact with this wonderful gathering.
We are grateful, sir.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really, me too grateful to you all.
So I don't think there is anyone.
Okay.
Because I
So-
think this is new, and in Northeast or in particularly in Assam, there is no international relation as such as a department. Or
Exactly.
that's why
Yes, also this is my request. If you are organizing any, the webinar on new education policy, as
yes,
because also I am the nodal officer of new education policy of our state. I am
Sure, sir.
corresponding with the government of India, and we have also conducted a series of webinars with the members of NEP, like Professor TV Katemani, Professor Ramasankar Kuril, then Professor Jha, and also we are in touch with the former, the chairperson of University Grants Commission. I have forgotten the name, but we are in touch with him also, Professor Ved Prakash. Sorry, I have forgotten his name. Even we are in constant touch with the Niti Aayog in relation to the policy related to our state, Arunachal Pradesh. So even when I was in Tirap College, just I am sharing, when RUSA project was launched by the government of India, and I'm not, praising myself, but our, the institutional development plan of our college, when I was the principal of Wangcha Rajkumar Government College, it is nearer to Naharkatia, 24 kilometers from Naharkatia, nearer to Dibrugarh or Tinsukia. Dibrugarh is 85 kilometers from that place. So many, the principals from that locality, they used to come, and we have extended every possible support to our counterparts. So this will be also a grateful exercise for all of us to have interchange of our ideas in relation to national education policy, and that will be helpful for our entire, I think, teacher community too.
Yes, sir. In your future, we will organize.
Sir, thank you, sir. Actually, we are very lucky to have you among us.
Yes.
And in the future also, we
We'd
seek
like
your
to,
cooperation. We would like to seek your cooperation. And
Sure, sir.
yeah. So
Sure, sir.
actually, yeah.
In near future, we will organize, and again, we will organize a webinar on new education policy, sir, and we will invite you.
Actually, sir, one problem is there. After having joining at Itanagar, you see, for academic purpose, I am not getting that much time, as because since from morning to late evening, I have to work with Chief Secretary, sir, and our Commissioner Education. So in administrative area, but apart from that, I'm fond of doing academic exercise. So I will be very much grateful if you are organizing any the program, and I will be the part of that deliberations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Time that and time will be from your side, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then the last part of our webinar. Thank you, sir, and thank you all.
Is Jugen Kolta sir is able? Jugen Kolta sir is joined or not?
I send you, sir.
No, he is not joining us.
So thank you, sir, Mr. Sir, and thank you all. And now I request Dr. Hemalata Sharma ma'am, Vice Principal of Morigaon College, to deliver vote of thanks to the forum. From my side, thank you, distinguished fellow and all participants. Thank you.
So there is a request for all the participants. Sorry for interruption. I would like to request the Honorable Dr. Jayashree to ask all the participants to fill up the feedback form so that they will get the certificate.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes. Feedback
okay,
form is in the link. So
yeah, this is available in the chat box. They can fill up it.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Principal, Morigaon College, Dr. L.K. Borthakur, sir, Honorable distinguished resource person of today's webinar, Dr. A.K. Mishra, sir, Professor in Political Science, State Liaison Officer, Director of Higher and Technical Education, Arunachal Pradesh Government, organizer of this seminar, Department of Political Science, Morigaon College, HOD and coordinator of this webinar, Dr. Ushit Kumar Das, Assistant Coordinator, Dr. Pallavi Hazarika, Moderator, Dr. Jayashree Nath. Our collaborating organization, Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, team, Guwahati, President CESR, respected Dr. Prabhu Sharma, Organizing Secretary, Dr. Dipan Das, Technical Coordinator, Dr. Jogesh Das, and respected participants from various colleges and other institutions. Good evening to all of you. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Morigaon College and Political Science Department, Morigaon College, and our supporting organization, CESR staff, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all of you, and especially the speakers for gracing their important work and sharing their findings and opinions with us today. We are grateful to our principal, Morigaon College, respected Dr. Lilakanto Borthakur sir, for his inaugural speech and also providing us immense support to make this webinar successful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My
Thank you,
heart
ma'am. Thank you
feels
all.
my heart fills with lots of gratitude and respect to our valued speaker, resource person, Dr. A.K. Mishra sir, for his efforts towards COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on international relations. My heartfelt thanks to you, sir, for clearing our concepts and enhancing our understandings on this topic and enlightening us with your commendable talk on this topic. Thank you again to you, sir. Our supporting or collaborative organization, I must mention with deep sense of great appreciation, CESR staff who extended their kind help to make this webinar successful. I offer thanks to all of them. Here I would like to mention the Department of Political Science, my colleagues who organized this webinar, for their dedication and motivated work to this webinar, who know their jobs and are result oriented. Last but not least, heartfelt thanks to all the participants for participating in this webinar with great enthusiasm and make this event successful. Thank you all the participants. Thank you all of you being with us in this evening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Jayashree,
madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. We can declare this session is over. And I think our certificates will be issued shortly. And you will get a message or in your WhatsApp group. So thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, madam. Thank you all.